As promised, we're here with Janet Peckinpaugh, the it girl of the 1980s. Dare I say that? Yes.
You're calling me
She's
that.
still gorgeous after all these years. Thank you all for joining us, and we want you to, have all of your questions ready to go. And so here we are. So we're two Indiana girls.
Yes, we are. Rivals. I mean, IU, Purdue. If you know anything about Indiana, Old Oaken Bucket. I mean, that's
and I think
big.
you guys won more than ours at Purdue. I think.
I haven't been.
Yeah, I haven't been back to Purdue in many years.
I haven't been. It's been a while since I've been to IU.
All right, so it's so good to see you.
You too.
We, Janet does real estate. You're in Essex, right?
I am with Sotheby's in Essex, William Pitt Sotheby's, and I live in Essex. And I've been there since I left TV 11 years ago, and I love it. I mean, I haven't been doing real estate that long, but I'm starting my 4th year in real estate, and I love that because it's so much. I use so many of my skills that I used as a journalist, and it's
because you dig,
great,
right? You dig.
You're digging. You're finding out information for people. It's like what I loved about television and being a broadcast journalist was every day you came to work and you learned something new, or 3 things new, or 4 things new. You know, it was never the same. And real estate's the same way.
That's great. So you have one son.
I do.
Alexander.
Right.
Is he watching from London?
I forgot to tell him. No, he's asleep.
From London? Okay,
Actually,
it's 6 hours ahead, right?
Yeah, and he's asleep because he's coming tomorrow to see me. And I haven't seen him for so long, and I'm missing him madly. He'll be 30 in 3 weeks. Can't even believe that he'll be 30.
I know. My twins are almost 29.
know.
So our kids are about the same age. So I came in 1987, January. You left Channel 8 in June of 1987?
Yep.
So we worked together for
just a few months.
For just a few months, and my hair got blonder because I always loved yours. So that's what happened. As people join us, we invite you to Wendy Fisher's here, Jill Bowen's. If you have questions for Janet, go ahead and ask. Let's see, do you want to tag Judith in this video? No, not yet, but Judith, I love you for watching. That's great. So when you came into this business at Channel 8, you came here from Richmond, Virginia. So when did you start in the business? You went to Indiana University.
Yep. And then I very briefly, because I started my master's degree, and then I changed my mind what I wanted to do, and my dad said you need to go to work. So
You did start your master's degree.
Oh yeah, I'd started my master's in educational psychology, and I didn't really like that, and so I told my dad I wanted to be a business major. So that's when he said, "Go to work, little girl. You've never worked. You need to go out and find a job, and then decide what you want. Figure out what you want to do, and then I'll send you back to school." So I never would have left IU. I mean, I was happy, there. So kept going to school forever, and in the year that I graduated from college, there were so many baby boomers that all I could do was teach because I had a degree in history. And there really wasn't much you could do with a degree in history except teach. So I couldn't find a teaching job because there were so many others.
Was this in Indiana or Ohio, or where was this?
Well, no, I grew up in Ohio.
Right.
So I was looking in Indiana and Ohio and all over, and no teaching jobs. So I'm home in Ohio for maybe a month, and that wasn't great. Moving back home.
That's
after
hard
college.
after college. I
That
know,
was
right?
really hard
because there's rules.
Yes, there are rules like, oh, it's 11 o'clock and you're not home yet, and I'm like, oh, we didn't have hours in college. What do you mean? So anyway, I came home for about a month, and my father, I had said, I don't know what I'm going to do. My father said, well, one of his friend's daughters had been in the same situation and had gone into the airlines, and I went, I don't want to be a stewardess.
Right, it was stewardess then.
Yeah, it was
right?
stewardess then. I can't imagine anything worse. And my dad said, look at it this way. My dad was so wise, and he knew me so well. And he said, oh, sorry, I covered that up. He said, look at it this way. You can, it's not a hard job. It probably isn't a hard job, although it was really difficult.
You travel the world.
You'll travel the world on passes, if nothing else, and you can you'll meet people from all over the world. You'll figure out where you want to live, and, what a great thing. And I said, oh, okay. Well, after the first, you got home after curfew thing happened, I called the airlines and said, I'm coming, because I'd been hired.
So you did?
I went to I went to National Airlines. They had white planes with yellow sunbursts on the side.
remember that.
And they were named after, so LB Maytag washing machine, owned the airline, and he handpicked his stewardesses, and he named his planes after his stewardesses.
Are you kidding
No.
me?
I mean, we wore
Oh,
skirts
how
up to here.
70s, right?
We wore, hats, gloves. We were dressed to the nines.
Did you have to weigh a certain amount?
Oh, yes.
They would have like weigh-ins.
Oh, every week.
Oh my
And
gosh.
if you were 2 pounds over weigh-in, you got a warning. And if you were 5 pounds over weigh-in, you got docked.
What a sexist thing.
Oh no, you had to.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we're like, because you had to look good in those dresses. I have a picture of me. I wish I had it with me. And I'm standing sideways in the plane, and somebody took a picture of me sideways, and I'm like, I was never that skinny in my entire life ever again.
So how long did you fly before you went into journalism?
So here's what happened. So because you backdoor into everything.
Yeah.
So I was in the airlines, and I really didn't like flying the line. And I was very junior, and we went on strike. So I lived with like 6 women in a 2-bedroom
Where?
apartment in Miami.
Okay. Well, that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah,
in Miami.
but it was bad. I mean, can you imagine living with 6 women? And
Well, yeah, but that was before Miami is Miami of now.
well, right. This was Miami. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. This was in the 70s,
Yeah.
and it was. But anyway, very quickly, I was asked to be in the marketing department. And so they pulled me aside and said, we want you to represent us and go to all these travel agent conventions around the country and talk up the airline. And, wearing my uniform, and I'd talk about new routes that were coming on
Yeah.
and everything. It was a really glamorous job. So about
I never knew this about her.
2 years. I bet you didn't.
No, I didn't.
This is so funny. So 2 years, and this is just because Daddy said he wouldn't pay for school anymore.
So for 2 years, you're marketing this airline.
Yeah, I'm marketing the airline, and I traveled with executives from the airline. So I mean, it was really kind of heady. Well, we kept going on strike in the airline, and that was the time when everybody was, all the airlines would strike. I mean,
Right.
anything would go wrong and they'd strike. So I went through my 3rd strike. Before that happened, one of the things I had to do was I did commercials.
So were you on the air nationally?
I was on the air nationally
Again,
in commercials.
I did not know this.
So you remember Bob Greasy?
Yeah.
From the Miami Dolphins? Okay, so one was with Bob Greasy, and then we were standing in front of a 747 and with the beautiful sunburst, and there were, he had 3 flight attendants on each side, stewardesses on each side of him. And that was one. And then
Did you have a speaking role?
Oh yeah. And this was because our slogan was, I'm Janet, fly me.
Oh boy, this is so 70s.
It was so 70s. and then our second campaign, in which I don't have these tapes. I wish I did.
Because wow.
And we carried matchbook because you could smoke on the
Right,
airlines.
right.
So I had matchbooks that I handed out that had a sunburst on one side and said, "Hi, I'm Janet, fly me" on the other side.
Oh my
So
God.
guess what our second campaign was?
I'm
I
afraid to
dove
ask.
off a diving board into the pool because I used to be a swimmer, and I dive off the diving board into the pool, and as I'm walking up, I turn to the camera and say, "I'm Janet. I'm going to fly you like you've never been flown before." That
This
was
has now
our
become our
that was our slogan. Honest to goodness, this is real. This is not made up.
Is this on YouTube somewhere?
No, I wish, don't you?
Oh, okay. So you were the it girl in the airline industry,
Well,
and
whatever. And then, so here's what
you
happened
didn't ever
and
think
how I
that was
backdoored.
weird, or you just kind of did it because it was
You
a
know
job.
what? You didn't think about things like that then.
I guess.
I mean, you
guess.
really
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And so now, when you start thinking about it, when you're going into journalism, and so here's what happened. I was handpicked to fly Gerald Ford. We flew the press around for 5 days on a junket with the president and his wife. And
How is that?
it was fabulous. And I fell in love on the trip, and
this is gonna get good. You fell in
the
love with who?
Fords. Well, I'll tell you.
Wait, I hope you have something to eat or drink because it's going to take a while. I didn't know any of this stuff.
So the Fords, I was with President and Mrs. Ford, and
Yeah.
they were lovely, and they invited me to come back to Washington. I mean,
To the White House?
Yeah. So I thought, well, that would be really fun, right? So I went back to Miami after the trip, and I met these. So I was with, Tom Brokaw fixed me up with his best friend, John Cochran.
This is a book or a movie. I mean, I can't believe this. All right, so,
And
So how do you know Tom Brokaw by then?
I flew with him for 4 days.
Oh, he was on the junket.
It was all men. It was all the White
And
House.
Janet, are you picturing this?
Well,
So
it
all
wasn't
these-
just me.
well,
There were a couple other women too.
Okay, 3. So you're on this plane
Yep.
with a bunch of
all
male reporters.
journalists. They were all the White House correspondents, network
and
correspondents. for the
Gerald
White House.
Ford and his wife.
Yep, and they were on Air Force One. We
And
were on
you're
Air
in
Force
this
Two.
outfit.
Yeah.
But you're not saying fly
Oh
me.
no. We're just serving. We're doing the service.
I'm trying to get a visual here.
Yeah, and then at the stops, when we'd stop and President Ford would get off and greet people, and sometimes we'd go in, and sometimes we'd just stay with him. I've got great pictures of us, and so and they wanted me to meet one of their sons, so I went back home to Miami, and then I came back so I came to Washington, and I stayed in the White House, and.
Did you date their son?
I had one date with him. It was pretty weird because
What?
Because we're walking to, David Kennerly was the White House photographer, fabulous award-winning photographer, and David, Pulitzer Prize winning. And so we were going to David's house, and he was dating Candace Bergen, and we were going to David's house in Georgetown for dinner.
With Candace Bergen.
Yeah. And so we were we wanted to walk.
How dull was Channel 8 after you were doing all this global stuff? Oh my gosh!
So we're walking. We got taken from the White House dropped off at M Street, and then we walked the rest of the way because it was a beautiful night. We wanted to walk. The weirdest thing, Anne, we've got 2 Secret Servicemen in front of us, 2 behind us, and 2 across the street. Do you know how hard it is to have a date with someone you're just
and that was their life,
and
right?
That was their life.
Yeah. So
and
which
it
son
was
was
really
this?
Jack.
He was cute. I remember.
Jack. So
She
anyway,
didn't think he was cute.
we won't
All right.
talk about
Yeah,
that
no,
anymore. But
because
anyway,
he's still alive, I think.
So
yes.
in the meantime, I'm having all my pictures taken, and they got stolen. So I'm having this photographer is supposed to take me around, and I'm having my picture taken in every room in the White House. And so we go to
because you went out with Jack.
Yeah, and because I was a guest. And so we go to the press room. Well, I'd never been in the White House before. We go in the press room, and all of a sudden here comes Brokaw goes, "Janet, what are you doing here?" And I went, "Oh, I'm staying at the White House.
I'll see you at the White House."
And he's he's in the press room, and then this guy who I kind of liked comes up, John Cochran, and says, "What are you doing here?" And so then I went back. National Airlines went on strike. I said, "I'm packing up my bag because I've been to the White House. I know the president, right? And I have this kind of boyfriend." And so I packed my trunk of my car, I drove my car to Washington, D.C. without a job, without a place to live.
Because you know the president.
Yeah, well, I figured I could get a job.
Yeah.
Doing
okay.
something,
All right.
smart.
So your parents are going, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, because remember, we're on strike with the airline, so I can't work.
You're not
All
working.
I can do is sit home.
Yeah.
So why not pack up my car and move back to D.C.? I
Yeah.
kind of thought it was a beautiful place.
It's a great place.
So I did, and I went to a employment agency, because there are lots of employment agencies. And I went to an employment agency, and the woman the owner of the agency said to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I have a degree in history. I've just been working in marketing for the airlines, and I have my BA."
And I know the president.
And I didn't say that. And she said, "Well, how fast do you type?" And I looked at her and I went, "I don't type." She goes, "What do you mean you don't type?" And I said, I don't type because I didn't want to become a secretary.
Yeah.
So and that's a true story. I mean, not that there was anything wrong with it. I just in my mind didn't want to know how to type because then I thought I'd be have to do that. So she said, "Well, everybody in this town types 150 words a minute and they have their master's degree." And I'm like, "Uh-oh."
So
I am in trouble. She hired me.
Why?
Because she liked me, and I became one of her. So I would help other people find with the 150, cents an hour. So here's what happened. So I used to send people to Capitol Hill all the time and for jobs. And this one woman that I sent liked me for some reason, and she was happy that I got her a job on Capitol Hill, and she recommended me for a job. So I went and I go to Capitol Hill and I interview for this job, and it's like a minor administrative assistant. That's what it was called, and in the young senator from Florida. So we had that Florida connection, right?
Because I
had just been in Miami. So I go to interview for the job, and there are 3 rounds of interviews, and I kept getting called back. So I got called back the 3rd time, and the
So
third
you just
time,
kept falling up.
yeah,
your whole life.
Absolutely. And so, or making it up, or, reinventing myself. So then I get this 3rd interview, and I'm in the senator's office, and I haven't met the senator yet, but Eli Feinberg, I'll never forget his name, and he was a big presence. He sits at the senator's desk, and he interviews me, and I loved it. I mean, the interviews were really intelligent, and I really liked them. So this was a time of, I don't know if you remember this name out of the past, but Fannie Fox.
Sure.
And and Elizabeth Ray. So this was about that same time. So he's asking me these great questions, and then he said, what would you do if the senator's best friend came to town from Miami, and the senator was out of town, and the senator asked you to entertain him for the night? I looked at him, and I was so heartbroken, because I thought I wanted this job so badly.
And now he's an idiot?
And I thought,
Yeah.
This is what I have to do for this job? This is what this job is,
Welcome
Ann?
to Washington.
Right? So I got up, excused myself, I said, thank you very much for the interview, and I turned, and by the time I got to the door, Eli Feinberg said to me, congratulations, you're the first person who gave me that answer. You got the job.
And so then, was this a good job?
It was a fabulous
They
job.
treated you with respect?
Oh my gosh. And I ended up he lost everybody in his press office. So I ran his press office. So therefore, here I am working with members of the press again. Anyway, down the road.
So did you go see the Fords at the White House while you're working in Washington?
Oh yeah, I continued to see them. Yeah,
At the White House.
I continued to see them because I started dating this network correspondent who was one of the he and Tom.
Which one?
John Cochran.
Okay, I remember him.
And he was at NBC for years, and then he went to ABC. So you would have known him from ABC,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Anyway, so John and I were dating, and I did an internship for NBC at the White House, and I became a radio reporter. I did a public affairs news show for the Democratic National Committee. So I would cover the White House. So that's when Jimmy Carter was in.
I hope you're riveted to this, because I am.
Oh, no,
I know.
sorry.
I'm just like leaning
So
in.
I covered the White House when Carter was in it, and I would go back with my little audio tape, and I'd make Jimmy, because Jimmy was and slow and and stumbling, and
You'd edit all this?
Oh yeah, and I'd make him sound great.
Wow.
And then I would offer out this newscast to any radio station in the country, and they could say, here's our reporter, Janet
Their
Peckinpaugh,
actuality
Washington.
or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was no affiliation, but it was great.
So how did you get from that to television?
Well, so now remember, I'm doing the internship with NBC Network Television while I'm doing radio for, and I'm at the same time. I mean,
Are you getting paid well by now?
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not getting paid well at all. No, I was paid well in the Senate. I mean, that was a very first day on the job. I had 4 weeks high option Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I wonder if
4
it's
weeks
still that way
vacation.
now. I have no idea.
I'm sure it is. Very good job. And that's why you see people in the Hill just keep moving from office stuff.
Right.
And they age there because they're such cushy jobs.
Yeah.
And they're really great jobs. And benefits are very different. The benefits are very different than we get. So anyway, stayed there, went there, got my first job, and I'll just be quick, and peddled my audio tape around to all these TV stations. Because remember, Annie, there weren't any women on the air.
No.
So
there was Barbara Walters, right?
Well, but she was national,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why the guys were saying to me, do this. The time is right.
Right.
Start in a small market, work your way up the ladder, You'll be a great reporter. Learn how to do everything.
Right.
And they were my mentors and my teachers. I mean, they were two of the best.
Are you in contact with any of these people that are still with us?
Yes, yeah. John calls me Sam.
But you didn't marry him.
I call him Johnny. No, and you know what? It was probably a sad thing, but the reason I didn't marry him was because I got my first job on television, and it was in Richmond, Virginia. And
so it must have not been love, though, because...
I really did love him, but I got to tell you, I was so career-oriented.
Okay.
You know, unfortunately, that kind of went first in my life. So that became top
Well,
priority.
that's okay. That's what you had to do.
And I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to be a great reporter. Tom offered me a job when he went to the Today Show as a producer, and I said, nope, I want to be a reporter. So I kept... Ted Turner offered me one of the first jobs on CNN.
Do you believe these names? I mean, I'm not answering your questions right now because I'm just, I can't.
Sorry,
No, because I'm just really,
I thought you knew all
No,
this
I
about
didn't.
me.
No,
that's all my background.
But
So
I don't think
Ted
people knew
Turner
that about
called,
you either.
and it was Ted Turner who called, and he
So
called
did
me.
everybody flirt with you?
Oh yeah.
I love how you answer that. So because you know Tom Brokaw's in the news right now.
Yeah, but you know what? So.
Whatever.
I could start to tell you one of my first encounters was not Tom, but someone else who got fired from network recently, and because he told me he'd get me my first job on television, and he was married and showed up at my door, and I said, please go away and don't come back anymore. I'll find another way to get on television, but this is not it. That stuff happened. Matt Lauer and I worked together in Richmond, Virginia. I mean,
this is going to get into a news area.
No,
so,
these things happen, and we just worked with it because I'm the first woman covering the legislature in Richmond, Virginia, and it was all men and me. It was all men and me in the newsroom, and you've got to be. You know, you hear the jokes and you get slapped, and you know,
it's like Anchorman, right?
Exactly, and you just go with it.
But you don't have to put up with bad behavior.
But they
which
used
sounds
my
like
tapes.
You didn't.
I will show you my old tapes in Richmond to do Anchorman. The clothes that she has on, they sent me the doll. The clothes she wears are from the tapes. They remade the clothes. That was me.
So Anchorman was you?
Yeah, the girl was me.
Did the movie contact you?
Yes.
You know, we're breaking a lot of ground here. So really, did they ever?
I'm an old broad. No.
Wait, so did they ask you all these things and you told them?
Oh, and
did
my
you get
agent
paid for this?
No, my agent sent them all my old tapes, and I got to go to the.
What was her name? What was the?
I can't even remember. I'm sure it was some corny name like Janet Peckinpaugh.
No, it was. What was the name? Okay, viewers, help us with the name with Anchorman.
Yeah, if anybody remembers.
The anchor? Yes, she is a great storyteller.
Oh.
Wait, so somebody come up with the name? Corning.
Victoria, Veronica.
Veronica
Corning fish.
Corning
or
something.
Corning. You're right. Good memory.
Hogan's
Ann.
taking notes. Kevin Hogan. Veronica Corning. Help me with this.
It's got
an Anchorman starring.
What was
Will
her
Ferrell.
name?
Will Ferrell.
But what was her name?
Well,
Christine.
No, it was Veronica Corning.
No, but what was her name in real life? Christine. Who was the actress? Cute actress.
Corning Stone.
Yes.
Thank you. And Garrett, thank you. Sydney, that's great. Okay, so now this is great. We're finding out a lot of stuff. All right, so you're Veronica Corning Stone.
Well, part of me was. I mean, I was like one of the first women in local news on the air.
So you were written up nationally because of this.
Yeah. And I went to the premiere and I sat there and I was like offended at the movie because, you know, it's a comedy and they're making fun of, you know, I was serious, you know, I was a serious
But
journalist.
that's how they treated women in the 1970s.
I know.
When did I start? 1979.
Yeah, see.
So I was on the back end of that.
Yeah.
But so everything I ask you about is a story. So the fact
Sorry.
I'm going to start calling you Veronica now because
no.
So you made no money on all
No.
Wait, you have tapes from the 1970s?
Yeah. That they sent my agent, Ken Linder.
You're still with Ken Linder?
Oh, I'm not. Well, I'm not anymore. But you know, I was with Ken. Oh yeah, I was with Kenny. I was Kenny's first client. He keeps calling me and saying, "Hey, I'm having
Where
my
is he now?
He's in California. He's got a huge agency
In Los Angeles or something?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Well, he's got to be up there.
Linder and Associates.
He's got to be in his 70s.
He's probably 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably 70.
Oh
He went to Harvard with my ex. So
We could get into that too, but that's another show. That's another show.
Yeah.
Okay, so so you got no money for the movie.
But it didn't have any.
So they invited you to the premiere.
Yeah, but regionally. And so I sat there, and then the Hartford Courant did a story on me watching it.
Right.
To see what I thought of it. And I was so aghast that it was like making fun of her, and they were like having affairs.
Well, she won in the end.
Or whatever.
But she won in the
I
end.
know. But
that's all we care about.
And now watching it, I love to watch it. But then it was a little raw.
I didn't like the sequels, by the way.
No,
the first one's
I
great. The rest,
I
not
didn't
so
watch
good.
the rest of them.
All right,
But
so
anyway,
somewhere you got to Channel 8.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kenny.
So you're in Richmond. You get your
I'm
first
in
job
Richmond. I got my first job as a weather woman, and so.
So did you have magnets that you just stuck on the wall like suns?
I had to draw my maps.
Wait,
I drew my clouds, and I am not an artist.
Wait, with chalk?
Yeah, with paint, and then I'd have to scrub it off between the 6 and 11. No, I was the weather girl. That's the only thing they'd let me do.
Weather girls. That's what they used to call them. Yeah.
And when I came to the station, I was only part-time, so I commuted back and forth from D.C. I kept my day job in D.C., and I did the weekends first.
Yeah.
They let me do that first.
Yeah.
And I commuted back and forth, and I made $37.50 an hour. I mean, a show. And it wasn't enough to stay all night in a hotel. So I had to pay to stay all night in the hotel to do the Sunday show, which was fine. But I was determined that I was going to get a full-time job, and I did. After 6 months, I got a full-time job. I covered the legislature. I mean, it was wonderful because that's what I had done.
Right.
That's what I knew.
So you're a chick that works hard, even though you weren't getting paid.
Bet. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was
This is not a bimbo, by the way.
It was
no
experience.
This is no Veronica Corning stuff.
No, thanks. but so I said to Brokaw, I said, how do I
Wait,
cover?
I love that. So I said to Brokaw. Okay, go ahead.
I said, how do I cover the legislature? General Assembly, is a bunch of, excuse me, but old white men.
Well, kind of still is.
Yeah. And I'm the only woman. And I'm not that tall, as you noticed tonight.
What are you, 5'3", 5'4"?
Probably, well, I say 5'4". I'm probably more like 5'3", yeah.
Okay, 5'3".
Yeah,
Did you know that about her? She's really short.
I'm really not very tall.
But that's all right.
I think tall.
Well, as well you should.
I think tall. So anyway, but I'm in the back of this with my old Bell and Hell camera, and my microphone, trying to get an interview, and I can't, and I'm getting rushed by all these newspaper men and a few of the TV people because they don't they're like, they don't want me there. And so Brokaw said, Janet, you will figure it out. You will figure out a way. I know you, because I can't tell you what to do, though. Just don't let them run you over. So I would just fall back. So they'd rush the senator or congressman,
and you'd
or
wait.
rep, and I'd wait at the back of the assembly room. And every time, one of them would say, "Hey, little lady, you up there? What are you doing up there? What are you doing?" And I'd say, "Oh, Senator, could I have a minute with you?"
How old are you when this is happening? Mid-20s?
Mid-20s.
Okay.
And so I'd get in the office and one-on-one with the most important person of the day, and come back and have this great story and beat everybody else.
This fireplace has had so many interesting stories in front of it just by rolling around a fireplace. I can't believe this. All right, so
it was great.
You get the job. You're Richmond. So you're in Richmond how long?
Richmond, 6 long years.
Why long years?
Richmond was not a place for a Yankee girl. They're still fighting the South. I mean, that's the capital of the Confederacy.
Yeah.
So the first day I was covering a story, and my photographer was African American, and it was lunchtime, and I said, never to miss a meal. We got to stop and have lunch before we finish the story. So he said, okay. So we went downtown, sat. We had to take our equipment with us because it was so expensive. We couldn't leave it in the car.
Sure.
And we went in, had lunch. By the time I got back to the station, the general manager called me into his office, and he said, I've had 5 calls to fire you, because you were seen with a black man having lunch.
Oh my gosh! And this was
This was 1978.
Okay.
But that was the attitude, and that's just not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to my first cocktail party, and in a black tie. It was black tie on the invitation, and I had a lot of cocktail clothes from Washington, right?
Yeah.
So I wore this.
Because you were at the White House all the time.
Yeah, and I wore this. I was. Oh, I got stories about Betty Ford and I that you will all laugh, but we'll go into that another time. But I had I had a cocktail dress on because that's what it said. I get to this. These girls are, and they had bow ties on, blue little Peter Pan collared shirts, and khaki skirts. That's how that was their
very
black
South.
That was their black tie attire.
Yeah, and you're in some kind of va-va
looking like va-va-voom, and they're like looking at me like, who is this? And so I had a man walk up to me, and I thought, oh, he's kind of good looking, and I'm single, right? And he's kind of good looking, and he goes, I heard you're from the North. Are you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Indiana, and I grew up in Ohio.
Which isn't really the North,
right?
It's
but
Midwest.
Well, but
right, yeah,
north of
Mason-Dixon line.
And so he said, that's what I thought. And he turned and walked away from me.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, I don't like this. I
Right.
like friendly people.
So who plucked you out of Richmond?
So Mike Sechrist, the news director here, saw me on a tape. And Ken Lindner was very wise. I don't know if he still does this. But he at the time, like I said, I was his first client because he was working for William Morris in the television end of it, the TV movie end of it.
Yeah.
And then they started the broadcast end of it. So he had to get, so he started in that, and I was his first client. And so that's why it's so funny because we go back so far, and it's great. And so he would send a news director would call him and say, I'm looking for this. This is what I want.
Right.
He would make a bet with himself and say, I'm going to figure out because he'd know these news directors.
Sure.
And he would only send one person. Instead of sending, 6 of his best,
Right.
he'd send one person for each job.
They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore, I'm sure.
No.
So Mike liked me. Whatever he saw, he liked. And he called me up. They flew me up here, and I'm waiting at Tweed, New Haven. I flew from Richmond, Virginia to Tweed, New Haven, and there was a helicopter.
Yes.
Yeah, like
We used to
AIM
have
had a
a
helicopter, right? Its own.
Wait, so they picked you up at Tweed in the helicopter?
After I flew in, they picked me up and took me for a whole tour of the state. That was my interview.
Oh my heavens.
Oh, I was impressed.
I guess. All right.
I was
So
impressed.
did they land at the McDonald's like we used to? We used to land.
No, we landed.
So you landed at
New
Tweed.
Haven. Yeah, and then just flew.
When I flew, I used to land at McDonald's.
Oh, I never did that.
Yeah, well,
Whoa,
see,
that
you
was
see the
kinda
difference
risky.
here?
That was kind of risky.
Well, it was a big yard in the back. It's on Route 80. And we would land there. We'd meet the
my
photographers
gosh.
and go up in the helicopter there.
That
All right,
is
so
so funny.
you tour Connecticut.
Yeah.
And you go, this looks good.
Well, and Mike, he was just,
See, he was leaving as I was home.
and he was just amazing. He was like a great football coach, because he used to, if I got low on energy during the middle of the newscast, as
Well,
you
you just
could,
eat a candy bar.
he would run through the studio like a little train and throw a piece of candy on the set.
Okay, again, I've never had this treatment.
I mean,
No, but it was you called up on the phone and just said, "Look, I have low energy."
No, that was his way to say to me, "Pick it up."
Oh,
That was his cue.
wait. So live television wasn't enough to have you be up?
No, but he wanted me always to be really up. So if he felt like I was lagging after a couple newscasts,
You got to get this in a book or a
He-
movie. Well,
he
you've already
would-
been in a movie.
he would. That.
Okay.
But that would make me laugh.
So who did you anchor? What shows did you do when you first
Okay,
came?
so when I first came, this John Lindsay, who was brought
From Denver.
and he was a child actor with great, like Ted
People
Baxter.
will remember John Lindsay.
Great voice,
Yeah.
great pipes.
did you like him?
Nice guy,
Okay.
but not really invested in Connecticut. And I'm like, I want to know the name of every town. I mean,
You're a Midwest girl in New
you
England.
gotta know everything, right?
Yes.
And New Haven, you know how it is. New Haven people embraced me. I mean, I still do. I walk down the street and people come across the street and throw their arms around
Well,
me.
because you were the it girl of the 80s.
Oh, well, that's
it's
not
the eyes.
why.
It's her
just,
eyes.
it is not.
Yeah.
They're just so nice.
No, it is. When I arrived here and you were here, it was like, Janet Peckinpaugh is like this star, just like
It was
Katharine
just
Hepburn or
my
something.
name. You know, they
wasn't.
liked my name. It
No,
was
she's
fun.
really very nice. Yeah.
It was. They liked my name.
Okay, so John Lindsay did the 6 and 11.
He did he did the 11 by himself. So I was only allowed to do the 6 because that was the deal he worked out with them. You know, he was older and
He didn't want some chick with him at
he
11.
did not want anybody with him at 11.
That's the anchor man part.
Yep.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So so we anchored, and then the ratings were, better at 6, and they weren't good at 11. So anyway, but I anchored the 6, and I was an investigative reporter with Andy Holding. We had a little investigative team, and you know Andy.
Andy was awesome,
and he's an attorney now. I mean, Andy was tough.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the water business, in the water purification business. So the first story I wanted to do was when people were coming out with bottled water. And there were all these little mom and pop places around. I remember one in Meriden. They were all coming out with this bottled water. And so I said to Andy, I want to know what kind of equipment they're using to purify this water. So we went out with our cameras hidden and found that most of these people were taking the hose in the back of the building and filling up the water.
See,
bottles.
that's true journalism right there.
It was so frightening. But I remember we did a foster care story and uncovered something that was, children that were being abused, 40 children living in one house. It was but I love that. I mean, I love that kind of work. So then I did Thursday's Child from there, and that was just a wonderful series because Mike put me on the 11. I think John was on by himself for maybe 3 months only, but I never stopped reporting. I loved reporting.
And then you went on, with other anchors and other television stations in the state. Do you miss it?
Every day.
You do.
Every day.
What aspect of it do you miss?
I love being involved in a story when it's happening. Because I think I'm a reporter at heart. I mean, I liked much more being out in the field on the breaking news than in the studio when somebody else told me about it.
Right.
And I think I was real. I mean, what you see is what you get. I mean, I think I was really good at telling people in very simple terms what was happening, in a way that was understandable. And I think there were some people who thought I have to be, use these words and, be complicated. And no,
you're a Midwest girl.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Isn't that the way it has to be?
So you're in real estate now, and you love what you're doing.
I do love it because I'm with people all the time.
Yeah.
And
are you good at it?
I miss being. I think I'm great at it. I mean, because I work hard, and people know that. I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think I'd be working 7 days a week, but you work 7 days a week in
television. And you never turn
off.
You can't
ever.
You have to know what's going on constantly.
All the time.
With the government these days, I don't really want to know, but you have to know.
You have to know.
It's a lot of people just say it's overload. I've had it already. Stop.
I know.
But tell them what they need to know, not always what they want to know.
That's right.
Right? It goes back to that.
Yeah.
You went to college with Jane Pauley?
Yes. She was a Kappa and I was a Pi Phi. So we were, like next to each other houses. She was a history major too. And her parents were friends with the general manager of the station in Indianapolis. And that's how she got her, that was a talk about fall into.
Yeah.
I mean, she had no aspiration at all to do that. We were in, I think, one class together. I mean, I vaguely knew her, but we weren't like friends.
You're friends with Gail King.
Yes.
You guys are tight.
We were more than we are now. She's too busy
she's in New
for
York
me.
now.
Well, she's also she's got so much on her plate.
Yeah.
Not only she do CBS Morning News, but she's still doing the magazine, and she's really busy.
Right. I would say, in many ways, you've had a life that you didn't even expect. It just kind of started to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to continue this. I do want to ask people. I haven't answered any of your questions. So now this is the question portion, because I was just riveted with what you had to say. I had no idea about all this stuff. Okay, so who has questions? I'm looking here. We're waiting. Oh, there's 57 people watching. That's a lot, actually.
Is it?
Yeah. For this time of night, on a Friday. They should be out on a date.
Why aren't you out on a date?
But they're sitting here watching this. I don't know if I can...
Speaking of dates, no.
Yeah. Janet is single. Yeah. She's
This is
single.
not a plug for Janet.
No, well, it can
I
be.
have been alone for 27 years.
Yeah. Okay, can you believe this? She's been alone for 27 years.
But that was a conscious decision.
To raise your child.
Yeah, I wanted to. I became a single mother and wasn't expecting to become one
Yeah.
when Alex was 3.
Oh, wait, we have questions now. Hold on. I got to put the glasses
good.
on. What movie was John
Kevin,
Lindsay in?
John
great
Lindsay was-
conversation. Thank you for helping me make a match. Tracy Fury. She fixed up Joe Fury and his
Hi,
wife, Tracy.
Trace.
Yeah.
And they have
Paul wants to
beautiful
date. I don't know
daughters.
Paul, so we don't know if you want to date. Yes, Joe Fury has 4 daughters.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yeah.
And she was my producer, and she
At
kind of
Channel 3.
had she kind of had a crush on him. And so she started telling me, and I went, and you know me, I'm like, well, I gotta make this happen.
Yeah, that's a Midwest thing.
And because Joe wasn't dating anybody, and he was a single father.
She's a nurse Nightingale.
Did you know that? He was a
Yes,
single dad
yes.
raising his daughter by
Yes,
himself.
I did know that.
And he met this beautiful woman, and they fell madly in love.
And 3 kids later. So now you have 4 kids.
4 kids.
All right, great listening to you, ladies. Angela Perillo, you know her. Broadcasting, that is. Yeah, so what's your dream guy? I feel like we're playing
Are you
dating
asking
game.
me that?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Smart.
All right.
Funny.
Funny, lots of humor.
Don't take yourself too seriously.
Right.
But you got to be smart.
Okay.
Great conversationalist.
Would you date
Tall.
younger guys or
No,
no?
I don't. Well, my ex was 2 years younger.
But that doesn't really count.
Oh.
No. But you don't want like a 35-year-old.
No, thank you.
Yeah. No, you're still teaching them. Yeah. So she needs more than that.
No, let's not go into
Right.
this.
So
dating
so
thing.
at any rate,
No,
so
no.
she's single, but I would have to pass muster
You'd
on
have-
this
that's right.
individual
Exactly.
because there's a lot of
Do you know, for 30 years in broadcast, I only went out with men that I was fixed up with by friends. So I met Joe and Hadassah Lieberman and introduced me to my son's father.
really.
Yeah.
See, there's a whole nother
Yeah.
story there.
So I never, because I didn't, I didn't trust
Right.
who these
Right.
ulterior motives.
You're on TV,
right?
and so let me
you know
date
how
you, right.
that was. I mean,
Well,
we
no,
could
I was married early,
We could.
but-
Oh, that's right. But we could do a whole show about stalkers.
Yeah.
I mean, it
You've
was
had your share.
When I was young, and it was really frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a bodyguard from here who was a cameraman. He was a former Marine, and he followed me home after the 11 o'clock show every night. My garage was detached from my condo, and he followed me home and waited until I got in the house and flipped my lights on. And I paid him. I paid him handsomely, because you just
Right, you
But
just
that was a
don't know.
whole other thing.
All right.
Jerry Christopher.
When I worked in Indy, I lived next door to Jane Pauley TV station. Letterman did Weekend Weather.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
When
right.
I was still at IU, he was doing Weekend Weather.
Yeah, he was just a kid.
Yeah,
at a Ball State University.
right, and that's that was all my family land.
Because Muncie.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
and the Peckinpaugh land was there. We gave them all this land for.
So what is Peckinpaugh? Is it
Peckinpaugh
English?
it's probably Germany for 100 years, Switzerland before that, and Holland before that. It's Dutch. But we think it was either Beckenbach or
So
Beckenbach. It was
Peckinpaugh is
changed.
Dutch.
Yeah, it's Dutch.
So
originally.
Did you know I'm Dutch too?
No.
So my mother's people are from the Highlands.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we can trace back. So
So maybe we're relatives.
I bet we are. Of course we are. Of course we are.
Okay. Would you consider running for president? Well, she's already been in the White
No.
House and dated Ford's son, so
I
it's
would
no
not.
big deal.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
No, you did
I did
dabble
run
in
for
politics
Congress.
here.
I did because they asked me, and I'm very middle of the road conservative, not conservative. I'm very conservative fiscally. I'm very liberal socially, and so I wasn't anything. I'd never been.
Don't
with
you
a
think
party.
that's a centrist?
I'm a total centrist.
Yeah.
What did I say? I'm a
but I'm
centrist.
just,
I'm very middle of the road.
I'm summing it
You're
up. in
hearing
a-
it. Good. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was.
Yeah.
And there wasn't. So I had always been an independent and voted, and I still vote for the person I like. I don't vote party line. And at that time, there was a movement abroad and the Republicans asked me if I would get involved.
Was it a good experience running, or was it exhausting and right with the rubber chicken
dirty
dinners?
business.
That's what everybody says. It's a dirty business.
It's a dirty, ugly business.
Yeah.
And I will say the biggest. My ex-husband was very big in the Democratic Party, and I think he ran Joe Lieberman's campaign for president.
Oh, okay.
But he was a big Democrat and very liberal, and he wrote me the nicest note and said, "We need someone like you in Washington. We need people like you in Washington."
So what made it really hard to run?
What year was this? The lies.
What year was this?
2010.
Okay, 2010.
It would just people make stuff up and lie,
Yeah.
and I have this wonderful child, and I got to tell you, I mean, it hurts when people say lies about you. They get in the newspaper and then they make up things.
And he was how old?
Oh, Alex was when I
In high
ran for
school,
Congress.
right?
No, he was in college by then.
Oh, okay. Which he graduated head of his class at Harvard. Just want to say that.
Yeah, he was so
it's
sweet.
pretty awesome. So you would never do that again. You would never run again.
No, but I am the chairman of the Economic Development Commission in Essex.
But that's good. You're growing the town.
No, I want that. So that role,
Yeah.
is non-political, and it's. I want to help,
Right.
but only on a small level.
Hello from Indiana to both of you. Tom Young. Okay, so I went
Tom.
to high school with
Oh,
him.
you know Tom?
Yes. So he's watching from Indiana. I love that.
What?
Yeah. Well, did you know that this is global? Facebook Live with 57 people is global. That's good.
Listen,
All right, so
I know I'm old, Ann, but I did.
I
I just didn't think that you had such a global following. But Indiana would be great.
Well, I really don't. But there's a couple of people from Florida. and there's
I
whatever.
love it.
So thank you for coming on
Thank you.
Fireside
Thank you
Chats.
for having
and
me.
thank you for coming to our 70th anniversary.
I know, it was fun.
And I would love to see you on television again.
Yeah,
because I
that'd be
think
fun.
you'd be great.
I do miss it. I really do, and it's so wonderful that so many people still remember me. It's really.
Well, what's not to like? Again, it's the eyes. Yeah, you two are funny together. That's because we're losers. That's right. All right,
It's
Ma,
easy.
thank you.
Oh, thanks, baby.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Take care. Have a good night.